Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, I have stories involving alien abductions, Bigfoot, cryptids, and other weird phenomena today, folks. So, let's read about these particular incidences and hear exactly what went down. Let's start off with the first article titled, Michigan UFO Abduction Encounter, I Became an Alien Experiment. Indeed. This guy not only is abducted, but he apparently is put on, show. But now, let's read his story. In August 2017, a man in Farwell, Michigan reported waking around 2:30 a.m. and encountering what he believed was the beginning of an alien abduction scenario. The incident allegedly involved a silent formation of red-orange aerial objects, a platform descending near his backyard, paralysis, humanoid figures, and what he described as an alien science fair. The account is unsettling because it combines several recurring abduction markers: nighttime onset, a loss of control, missing memory, physical restraint, observation by gray-type beings, and a lingering fear that the experience may not be finished. Case file. Date, Saturday morning, August 2017. Time, approximately 2:30 a.m. Location, Farwell, Michigan, Clare County. Phenomena, UFO, UAP formation, apparent abduction, humanoid entities, paralysis, missing time, onboard medical or experimental setting. Witness state, awake after getting up to use the bathroom. Reported entities, tall gray-type humanoids, or scientist-like beings. Primary visual detail, 6 silent red-orange glowing objects in a V-shaped formation without a lead point. After effect, fear of return and belief that the beings may be preparing him for an unknown future event. Maybe they are, folks. But let's read the actual incident now and see exactly how our experiencer describes this life-altering event. At around 2:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning in August 2017, I woke up because I needed to use the bathroom. I was walking up the stairs when I opened the basement door, and immediately something attached itself to me. Wherever it was, it carried me out toward my backyard. I remember being slung over its shoulder as it moved. While I was being carried, I looked up and saw 6 orange glowing objects in the sky. They were hovering silently. There was no sound at all. The 6 objects were in a V-shaped formation, but there was no lead object at the point of the V. It was as if the front tip were missing. Later that day, I searched the online to see if anyone else had reported UFO activity in the area. I could not find any reports for that night, and I could not find anything about military activity either. Now, supposing this entity that abducted him took him to the craft that was the lead point of this V formation, folks. Maybe that's why there was no, tip in the sky, because the leading vehicle was already basically on the ground, basically being used to take this witness, folks. That's just my opinion. Either way, let's continue and see exactly where our experiencer will go next with his story. As I was being carried into the backyard, a platform came down. Once the thing carrying me stepped into the platform, I blacked out. The last thing I remember was everything turning white. The next thing I remember, I woke up with humanoid figures looking down at me. Once I was awake, I realized I could not move anything except my eyes. Then, I blacked out again, and everything went white once more. I remember one more scene. I woke up again, and once again, I could not move any part of my body except my eyes. I was looking around at what seemed like an alien science fair. There were professional-looking scientists present, and I do not think they noticed that I was awake and looking around. Not yet, anyway, folks. But I would have to say, I would think that, they're going to realize I'm awake, and then they're going to basically dissect me or something. Or I'm just going to basically be just out permanently. That's what I would basically be thinking about if I were in our witness's position here, folks. Experiencing what he was, going through. But let's continue and finish off his particular story. The beings looked like the tall gray beings people often describe. When I woke up during the part of the experience, they were all clapping as if they had accomplished something using me. I believe these beings, whoever they are, may be preparing me for something big that I do not yet understand. What do you believe happened to me? Will they come back? It was 6 years since the abduction, but I still fear they will return and that my time on Earth will end. For the record, I live in Farwell, Michigan, G. Now, was G actually abducted by alien beings here, folks? Was he actually put on display? Did they basically finish some sort of experiment with him? And that was why they were clapping? It sounds like they were very human here, folks. Almost too human to basically believe. Maybe these beings did do something to G here, and they will come back for him, but I can't be for sure exactly if that's the truth or not. All I know is that It's truly out there and bizarre. It makes you wonder what the real purpose of it all is. Maybe the entire abduction was basically put on by the government, or maybe it was real. Either way, we can discuss this point maybe a little later. Let's get on to the next article, or I should say article with a bunch of more stories of UFO and Bigfoots, folks, and cryptids, titled UFO UAP Bigfoot and Cryptid Activity Continues in Pennsylvania During 2026, and read these stories of people encountering this and other types of phenomena. This is a brief update on some of the UFO, UAP, Bigfoot, and cryptid activity, as well as other anomalies that have come to my attention in 2026 across Pennsylvania. There have been many other cases reported. I'm still awaiting details of some of these incidents. Early in January 2026, at a rural location close to Lingerner, around 8:30 p.m., there was a thud against the house and objects began to sway inside the structure. The dog inside began to bark, its hair standing up, and it growled. The witness, who was inside, grabbed a weapon and walked outside. He soon observed what he described as a huge Bigfoot with long arms and legs running down from a hillside. The next day, the man found a series of large footprints in the grass, which I would not be surprised if such an entity did basically run through his property, folks, that this man would find these footprints. But was it real, or was it a hoax, folks? It sounds, well, that indeed this was a genuine case of a Bigfoot so far, but let's read on and hear about his and maybe other stories now. Either way, this comes from January 18th, 2026, Derry Township, Westmoreland County A. Witness had just left a neighbor's home at about 3:15 p.m. She heard a sound and looked toward a nearby wooded area when a very tall, hair-covered creature was observed. The witness described the creature as about 8 feet tall, covered in brown hair that was matted in some areas, and with thick thighs and legs. The witness has said the Bigfoot was carrying a small deer over its shoulder. The deer appeared to have a broken neck. The creature stared at the witness for a brief time, then turned and walked into the woods. This next story comes from, January 19th and 20th, 2026. Bagley, Youngstown side of the Chestnut Ridge. During the evening, a witness reported seeing 3 triangular objects inside of a large round object high in the sky. From the Bagley, Youngstown side of the Chestnut Ridge in Westmoreland County, the 3 objects were inside a black circular object that surrounded them. The 3 triangular objects were positioned side by side. So these objects were just parked in the sky side by side each other. I would have to say that's kind of really frazzling, isn't it, to think about? But let's continue. This next story comes from February 2nd, 2026, Derry Township, Westmoreland County. The witness around 7:30 p.m. heard the dog that was outside barking excitedly. That person opened the door to let the dog in when she saw something unusual on an embankment across the street from her neighbor's house. She noticed 3 solid-looking white orbs sitting on the ground, which seemed to be trapped in the snow and stuck together. The orbs were described as about the diameter of a small car headlight. They looked white, blurry, fuzzy, and round. Once the dog stopped barking, everything went silent. After a brief time of viewing the orbs, the witness went into the house to obtain a cell phone to take a picture of them. It was moments later that the witness returned and the orbs were gone. Other reports during February from around Derry Township reported odd lights low to the ground near the woods. Now, everyone, we've read about this before, basically where people see an object or thing when they turn around and turn back, the thing is gone. I would not be surprised if the objects were already gone, folks, and that they only left a telepathic message or suggestion in our mind that they were still there. Either way, let's read on further. February 25th, 2026, report from a rural location in Fayette County about 7 p.m. The witness was taking garbage outside when he saw what he described as a swarm of tiny blue lights near the ground, about 200 to 300 feet away. He saw what looked like a swarm of very small lightning bugs that were a bright electric blue color. They were low above the ground and not moving. They looked like dim blue sparklers and cast a small amount of light. Then suddenly, in seconds, they just vanished. March 9th, 2026, a very strange day of unusual incidents. On March 9th, 2026, my phone rang at 2:26 a.m. It was a witness in Indiana County who, at about 2:10 a.m., had just taken his dog out for a walk. Soon after, they returned to the house. The dog became extremely excited, barking and shaking. The witness looked out the window, looking east toward the Jonestown area and over the Laurel Ridge. He saw 2 very large, solid, round, very bright white lights side by side and a smaller, similar round light below and between them. The lights gave the impression of a large triangular object, which is not surprising, folks, because we've heard of other stories like that. But let's continue this witness's story. The witness watched the object for about 2 minutes. He was just grabbing his phone to take a video when all the lights suddenly vanished from sight and did not reappear. He looked all around the sky and did not see them. He had never seen anything like that before and was quite shaken. And I'm not surprised, folks, that they disappeared. The next story is basically March 9th, 2026, around 5 a.m. A man driving near Scottdale noticed 2 odd lights in the sky toward Bullskin Trip near the Chestnut Ridge, there were two bright, star-like objects, one above the other, that were very bright and not twinkling. The lower object hovered while the top object moved steadily in the direction of the witness. Before getting close to him, the object faded out. Other objects began to come in from other counties in southwestern Pennsylvania from other sources and witnesses. A loud boom reportedly shook a rural area around 8 a.m. Another researcher received a report that around 8:30 a.m., a witness told him a very tall, dark creature had walked out onto the road in front of his car. So, another Bigfoot or cryptid incident, folks. Possibly a dogman as well. Either way, continuing where I left off, in Derry Township, Westmoreland County, an area with a long history of UFO and cryptid encounters, two people saw a strange animal at 6:45 p.m. They were just parking the car when they saw movement along a wood line. That is when they saw what they described as a female African lion. They knew what a mountain lion looked like, and they were sure that this was not what they saw. It stared at them for a brief time, then reportedly vanished while they watched. Among the many strange, out-of-place animal reports that I am aware of since the 1960s from Pennsylvania, there have been other reports of African lion sightings, so this is not new, folks. Indeed, maybe this was an African lion, but we can't be for sure until we have proof. Either way, very odd, but let's continue once again, folks, because we have to finish off these, stories. Mystery meteor sighting during March 2026. I've been taking UFO sighting reports via phone from the public since 1969. Since then, I have received thousands of UFO reports. Many of them, however, were determined to be of natural or man-made origin. Over the years, I've received many meteor reports. Some were unusually bright fireball meteors that even created sonic booms and were observed over a large area by many witnesses. Some were bright enough to see during daylight hours. This past March, there seemed to be a significant increase in meteor fireball reports, with some reports of sonic booms over Pennsylvania and other states. On March 17th, a fireball meteor was sighted over several states and the Pittsburgh area within days. Another similar incident took place. Similar occurrences were reported from various states in the days ahead. So, people are seeing things, folks. Are they meteors or are they something else? Perhaps UFOs, UAP, or maybe something more esoterical and interdimensional. We'll discuss that point after we finish off the last story here, folks. I started reaching out to some of my contacts in the science and research fields to get their opinions. Astronomers were also noticing this interesting activity. It is likely that what most people were seeing was indeed normal meteor activity. There's likely a scientific explanation for why there appeared to be an increase in such reports within a short period. What caught my attention, however, were reports from various locations in March describing an object that looked like a meteor fireball, but reportedly performed maneuvering. Unlike those of a meteor, this included instances in which the object reportedly changed direction as it fell and then ascended into the sky. Okay, folks, that sounds like a UFO, or basically some sort of UAP, some sort of man-made object. Maybe the government? Perhaps, we don't know. Either way, the increase in these signs could be the fact that, there was definitely some sort of small flap, so more people were looking for these objects in the sky, and maybe these things on the ground. Aliens, cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman. We have several names for them, folks, but the fact that maybe this was all taking place in this area, it's no wonder that more people were seeing them because they were basically all jittery about it. That's what I think, folks. Either way, what do you make about all these stories? Do you think the witnesses are actually telling the truth? It does sound like they're rather adamant that this all actually happened. I mean, the first story with that guy who was abducted by these beings and was put on display in some sort of alien science fair, he really does, give you the impression that this happened to him. Could it have been a dream, folks? The alien science fair almost sounds a bit too silly, but maybe that's exactly what this man was. Maybe he was basically caught, basically like he was an animal on basically some sort of hunter's safari, and then was put on display after basically being experimented on. And what about all these other incidences of not only UFOs, but also Bigfoot, and perhaps even Dogman, and other cryptozoological beings being sighted? And this small flap that seems to be taking place, folks. Either way, in that part of America, maybe this is exactly what's going on. These things are real, but we just don't know for sure until we have actual real evidence. Either way, we'll just have to keep searching for it, folks. Either way, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure at the part of the bell that give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Until next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.